You know, every family has them. Those epic stories you hear over and over at reunions. Tales of a great-great-grandma who was a Cherokee princess, or an uncle who was some kind of Civil War hero, maybe even a whisper that you're related to royalty somewhere way back. They're the legends that make up our family's identity, right? But what if I told you that buried deep inside those legends is a real, factual legacy just waiting to be uncovered?
These stories are absolutely fantastic starting points. But the real adventure isn't just retelling the legend, it's proving it. Because here's the thing, almost every family story, no matter how wild it sounds, usually has a little kernel of truth in it. The trick is just knowing how to find it.
So, here's our roadmap for this whole quest. We're going to walk through 6 key stages that'll take you from just being a storyteller to a full-on, credible family historian. Someone who can actually turn those cool legends into a lasting legacy.
Every great adventure starts with a question, not an answer. And believe me, in genealogy, asking the right kind of question, well, it changes everything.
Okay, so this is the central challenge, right? If you start out trying to prove the story is true, you can easily fall into a trap called confirmation bias. You'll only see the clues that support what you already believe, and you might totally miss the evidence that points to a different, and honestly, sometimes a way more interesting truth.
Just look at the shift in perspective here. The question on the left, that's a mission to confirm something. But the one on the right, that's a mission to discover something. That little tiny change from a closed question to an open one is a game changer. It keeps you from getting tunnel vision and opens up all the possibilities for your research.
This idea from the National Genealogical Society, this should be your North Star. We're on a quest for truth, plain and simple. And that means you have to be willing to let the evidence lead you, even if it completely torpedoes the story you've always been told.
All right, so with that truth-seeking mindset, it's time to gear up. Let's assemble our toolkit. We're talking about all the records and places that hold the clues to our ancestors' lives.
Think of these like different kinds of puzzle pieces. Census records, they're a snapshot of the family every 10 years. Vital records mark the big life events, births, marriages, deaths. You've got church records for baptisms, military records detailing service, land records show where they put down roots, and probate records show what they left behind. Each one of these tells a different part of the story.
And these are the treasure troves where you find all those puzzle pieces. I mean, you can find a ton of stuff on massive online databases like Ancestry, for sure. But don't forget about the real world. The quiet shelves of a library, a little local historical society, or even the dusty old deed books in a county courthouse. They hold clues you will never, ever find online.
Okay, so having the tools is one thing, but knowing how to use them without getting lost is another. A truly successful quest needs a map, and it needs a detailed log of where you've been.
A research plan is your strategy. It's your battle plan. Before you even open a website or pull a book off a shelf, you should know exactly what question you're trying to answer and which records are most likely to hold that answer. This keeps you from just wandering around aimlessly and makes your research time super efficient.
Now the research log, this is your journal. It's where you record every single step of your adventure. And here's the crucial part. You don't just write down what you found. You also have to log what you didn't find. Knowing you already searched the 1870 census for a certain county and came up empty is just as valuable as finding something, because it saves you from doing that exact same search 6 months later.
This might be the single most important rule in all of genealogy. No joke. Citing your sources is like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. It lets you and anyone else retrace your steps and check your work. Without citations, all your amazing research is really just another unproven family story. Sooner or later, every researcher hits one. The dreaded brick wall. You know, that ancestor who just appears out of thin air or vanishes without a trace. But listen, every one of those dragons has a weak spot, and we've got strategies to get right past them. One of the best tools is actually a simple timeline. Just by plotting out every known event in an ancestor's life, birth, marriage, census records, when they bought land, you can literally see the gaps. That big question mark between 1865 and 1870, that becomes your new research question. Where was he? What kind of records might exist for that specific 5-year window?
Okay, this is such a brilliant idea. It's called the fan principle. See, people didn't live in a bubble. So when your ancestors' trail goes cold, you start researching their fan club, their family, their associates, and their neighbors. Check out the witnesses on their deeds or the family living next door in the census. A lot of the time, their records will contain the clue you need, like mentioning the name of the town your ancestor came from. It's a game changer. Oh, you are absolutely going to find conflicting information. It's inevitable. A tombstone might say one death date, but the death certificate says another. So what do? The key is to find multiple independent sources for that one event. Then you have to analyze them. Was the info on the death certificate from someone who was actually there, or was it from a neighbor who was just guessing? The more independent sources that agree, the more confident you can be in your conclusion.
So, you've gathered your clues, you've slayed a few research dragons, now we get to the climax of our quest, forging the proof. How do you build a conclusion that's so solid it can be accepted as fact? Well, the answer is something called the genealogical proof standard.
The GPS isn't just a simple checklist you tick off. It's a really rigorous way of thinking and analyzing. It's the standard that certified genealogists use to make sure their work is absolutely sound. Honestly, think of it like the scientific method, but for family history.
And here they are, the 5 core components. Did you search all the likely records? Did you cite everything perfectly? Did you really analyze all your sources and figure out the conflicts? And finally, can you write out a logical explanation that connects all the dots from the evidence to your conclusion? If you can pass these 5 trials, that's what turns a good theory into solid genealogical proof.
Part of that whole thorough analysis thing means you really have to understand these key differences. An original source, like the actual will your ancestor signed, is always better than a derivative source, like a typed copy in a book where someone could have made a typo. Same thing goes for information. Primary information from an eyewitness is way more reliable than secondary information, which is basically secondhand. Your strongest conclusions are always built on original sources and primary information.
After all that planning and searching and analyzing, we finally get to the best part, the final reward of our whole quest, actually sharing the incredible story you've uncovered.
See, the end result of all this hard work isn't some boring chart with a bunch of names and dates. No way. It's a rich, compelling story. When you understand the historical context, the wars they lived through, the migrations, the social changes, you can tell a story that really brings your ancestors to life. You can explain not just what they did, but maybe even get a little closer to why they did it.
So there you have it. You've got the map, you've got the tools, and you've got the strategies. You now know how to take a whispered family legend and turn it into a proven, factual legacy. The only question left is, where are you gonna start? Your family's epic is out there, just waiting for its historian.